rules in favor of masses, orders use of old naira notes till December 1st. Legal fireworks begin over presidential election as Court of Appeal grants request of PDP and Labour Party presidential candidates to inspect used election materials. And from the foreign scene, anger grows as train crash in Greece claims 57 lives. Good evening and welcome to the news at 7. I am Akinwumi Abodunde. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu says no effort will be spared towards strengthening the education sector. Governor Akeredolu, while flagging of the 2021-2022 disbursement of checks for bursary and scholarship to Ondo State students in tertiary institutions, noted that every policy of government aimed at promoting the education sector will be sustained and improved. The governor urged the students not to allow the current challenges facing the nation to derail their vision of attaining academic excellence. Government House correspondent Wahab Bankole completes the story.
The setting was the Kogo Conference Hall of the Governor's Office in Akure as top government functionaries and stakeholders in the education sector, including students, gathered for the 2021-2022 flag-off ceremony for the disbursement of checks for bursary and scholarship to students of Ondo State in tertiary institutions. In his address of welcome, the Permanent Secretary, Ondo State Scholarship Board, Mr. Akin Ashanio, said the commitment of the Akeredolu administration to education at all levels is unwavering.
The government has also provided the necessary logistics to upgrade the services of scholarship corps to globally accepted standard in order to ensure that the process of scholarship/bursary award is smooth and transparent. Students can now register from their conference of comfort at their convenience, free of charge. In addition, the governor has equally directed that we should use a platform to disperse this fund.
Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, represented by Special Advisor on Union Matters and Special Duties, Mr. Dari Aragbaye, said his administration will sustain and promote all policies towards improving the well-being of the people.
Our administration will continue to make fast effort to put in place measures to keep promoting education in our state, and will continue to encourage and motivate students in higher institutions of learning by providing educational support, such as we are doing here now.
Governor Akeredolu highlighted numerous interventions of his administration to promote the education sector with a promise of more investment in the sector.
Payments of the year 2022 were fixed for 20,000 for 6 students. This administration has fully intervened massively in infrastructural development at all levels, from our primary to tertiary institutions throughout our states. I assure you that in no distant time, we will embark on massive innovation of public secondary schools across our state to make learning more inclusive. We have concluded plans to also upgrade the state one for lower polytechnic program.
The event was also used to honor Governor Akeredolu and other deserving individuals and top government functionaries for their roles in developing the education sector. Some of the beneficiaries thanked Governor Akeredolu for putting smiles on their faces, which are promised not to engage in activities that will tarnish the image of the state and their various institutions.
The country is in a state whereby hardship is so much in the country and we don't even know what to do. But Arakunrin decided to show mercy to the student populace by bringing bursary on board. All students of Ondo State are so happy with this development, and we say thank you to the state governor.
It's an inspiration, and it's actually going to inspire so many students to do more in their education. And these, among others, are what the governor has been doing for us. We can say emphatically that the governor is a student and education-loving governor, and we are glad to be here today.
Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
The Supreme Court has ordered that old 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes should remain in circulation till the 31st of December this year. The Apex Court also nullified the federal government's naira redesign policy, declaring it as an affront to the 1999 Constitution. Justice Emmanuel Agim, who read the lead judgment, dismissed the preliminary objections by the defendants, as the court had the jurisdiction to entertain the suit. The court said the policy has led to some people engaging in trade by barter in this modern age in a bid to survive, adding that the president's disobedience of the February 8th court order is a sign of dictatorship. 16 states of the Federation instituted the suit to challenge the legality or otherwise of the introduction of the policy. Staying with the courts, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has granted the request of the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi to inspect the election materials used during last Saturday's presidential election. Atiku and Obi had approached the Presidential Election Court to seek permission for the inspection of election materials. The Justice Joseph Ike-led panel of the Appellate Court, which will also sit as the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, granted the request after it heard two separate ex parte applications brought by Atiku and Obi as well as their political parties. The Special Advisor, Public Affairs and Strategic Communication of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council, Dele Alake, has accused the Labour Party presidential candidate of gross lies in his press conference held yesterday. Alake said it has become necessary to respond to both the candidates of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, Peter Obi, following their separate press conferences discrediting the presidential election.
You are not taking time to look at the results one by one. So the long and short I want to announce to you, because I am part of the legal team that has been constituted by you, have constituted our legal team now as I speak with you. I'm part of that legal team, and we have even volunteers who are ready to defend our man, volunteers who are also senior advocates. And we are looking at the results. So I want to announce to the world that we are also going to be filing a cross petition to cancel the votes of Labour Party in virtually almost all the states in the Southeast.
Dele Alake and Festus Keyamo, both of the APC PCC, addressing a press conference on the press conferences earlier addressed by the Labour Party and PDP presidential candidates. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has thanked Nigerians for supporting the return of power to southern Nigeria. The People's Democratic Party governor said the issue of rotational presidency has been settled for good with the emergence of President-elect Bola Tinubu, who is from the southern region of the country. In the build-up to the February 25 presidential polls, Wike, who lost the PDP presidential primary to Atiku Abubakar last May, was unapologetically vocal about his opposition to the ambition of the former vice president. An appeal has gone to the president-elect Bola Tinubu to take note of the loud sentiments of the youth, which could be discerned from the voting pattern in the just concluded elections. A socio-political organization, Diamond Group of Nigeria, in its congratulatory message to the president-elect and the Nigerian masses, said the generality of Nigerians desire a new nation that every citizen can be proud of. The group, while urging other contestants in the election to join hands with the president-elect to move the country forward, also cautioned against inflammatory statements which could put the nation's democracy at risk. Emerging controversies on the stand of the Constitution as regards conditions for determining a winner of a presidential election in Nigeria have been described as unnecessary. Custodians of law in Nigeria and public affairs analysts maintained that in line with the Nigerian Constitution, anyone who will rule the country must secure not less than 25% of the votes cast in at least 2/3 of all the states of the Federation and the FCT. Omore Lahungbeji x-rayed the opinion of Nigerian lawyers on what the law says.
As Nigerians look forward to the swearing-in ceremony of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, on the 29th of May 2023, having been declared winner of the presidential election and returned elected by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, an aspect of the Constitution that is not quite clear has got them asking questions. According to the Constitution, having majority votes is not enough for any presidential candidate to be declared winner by INEC. Section 134, sub 2 of the Constitution stipulates that a candidate is required to secure the majority of votes as well as 25% of the votes cast in 2/3 of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. These are the two grounds on which INEC can declare a presidential candidate a winner of an election. Otherwise, the election would be declared inconclusive and a runoff conducted. Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress polled 25% and above in 28 states. Atiku Abubakar got 25% in 20 states. Peter Obi of the Labour Party got 25% in 16 states, while Kwankwaso of NNPP got 1 state. Only the Labour Party among the contestants got above 25% in FCT. This has led to a social media argument where many opined that the APC candidate cannot be declared the winner of the 2023 presidential election because he didn't get the 25% of votes in Federal Capital Territory. On the other hand, those who disagreed with this position argued that it is not mandatory for a presidential candidate to secure 25% in the FCT as long as the candidate can procure the required 25% in the minimum 24 states. The question posed by Nigerians on the importance of winning an election in the FCT by a presidential candidate was clarified by a renowned lawyer and a senior advocate of Nigeria, Wale Omotosho.
The Constitution says, and FCT. FCT here is being regarded as a state because there has been judicial decisions of the Supreme Court that says that when interpreting section 299 of the Constitution, that the provisions of the Constitution as relates to states also relate to FCT, as if FCT is a state.
Another lawyer, Ibokun Fasomi, said the provision of the Constitution of the required percentage is clearly stated and the FCT must be treated as a state.
There is no point singling out FCT as a place where somebody must win before you go. If you do that, you are trying to interpret the law in a very, very mischievous way. I must tell you that the intention of the drafters of the Constitution, that we call them the lawmakers, is to know what is the actual thing they want to cure by that. And don't forget the case of Awolowo and Shagari. This issue came up in those days, and it was decided.
Collins Olagundoyi, a journalist and a political analyst and chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists in Ondo State, Leke Adegbite, said the law is clear and called on Nigerians to eschew violence and embrace good governance.
We are considering the chapter 8 of the Constitution, where we have a particular section considering the election, considering FCT as a state and not just as Federal Capital Territory.
As a journalist, I feel that the winning FCT or having 25% in FCT cannot be a yardstick for declaring or for becoming the president. There is nowhere in the world that they said you must win your federal capital before you can be declared president of your country.
Since the advent of democracy in 1999, this is the first time this issue of winning election in FCT and transmission of results, a criteria for emerging winner in presidential election, would be raised. Nigerians say This debate will further deepen the nation's democracy, thereby creating more issues for legislature to iron out. Omoriola Hungiji, OSRC News.
You're watching the news at 7 on OSRC television. You can also watch us live on our website, www.osrc.ng, or follow us on Facebook, OSRC TV Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel, OSRC TV Ondo. We'll be back shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on the news at 7. Early presentation of medical cases has been described as the most effective way to manage and cure diseases. Medical experts gave the advice at this year's World Hearing Day, organized by the University of Medical Sciences Ondo in collaboration with Vintage Hearing Foundation and Rotary International Organization at the Unimed Teaching Hospital in Ondo. The death toll from Lassa fever in Nigeria this year has risen to 104. The NCDC reported 636 confirmed cases since the beginning of the year in its Week 8 Lassa fever situation report. The NCDC said from January to February, 2,978 suspected cases were recorded. It added that the predominant age group affected in the country was 21 to 30 years, with the male to female ratio for confirmed cases being 10 to 9. Sequel to the Nigerian Meteorological Agency's predictions of early commencement of rainfall this year, some parts of the country have started witnessing downpour, including Ondo State. Joy Pius, who spoke with experts on implications of early rainfall on farming activities, particularly production of food crops, reports that farmers were warned against early commencement of planning to prevent loss of crops. President Muhammadu Buhari says he remains committed to winning the war against terrorism and other forms of insecurity. He added that his administration will stop at nothing to ensure citizens have a new Nigeria free from insecurity before bowing out of office. The president spoke at the unveiling of locally produced 700 Ashok Leland troops carrying vehicles in Abuja. He commended the military's efforts at ensuring peace and stability in the country, promising that he will ensure their labor does not go unrewarded. We return to the story on the early commencement of rain. Sequel to the Nigerian Meteorological Agency's predictions of early commencement of rainfall this year, some parts of the country have started witnessing downpour, including Ondo State. Joy Pius, who spoke with experts on the implications of early rainfall on farming activities, particularly production of crops, reports that farmers were warned against early commencement of planting to prevent loss of crops.
Rainy season in Nigeria usually starts from April to the end of October, depending on the zones. It is also a season of heightened agricultural activities by farmers. Rain is usually a benefit to crops and fields, and for farmers in Nigeria, it is when they are relieved of the stress of providing irrigation for their farmlands and crops manually. This year, in its annual seasonal climate prediction, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, announced the possibility of an early and heavy downpour. Some parts of the country, including Ondo State, have witnessed not less than 3 downpours. This, according to some farmers, is a good sign. While some experts in the agricultural sector said early planting of crops is a wise idea, Others argued that such move is a risky one as early downpour does not translate to continuous rain.
The purpose of coming to the farm at the onset of rainy season or towards the end of dry season is for us to plant early so that we can make use of the advantage of going to the field and having our crop early enough and get the best market for it.
The danger about delaying planting is the fact that the weeds will take over the land that they are prepared. Okay, so if they don't plant on time and they're still waiting whether the rain will stabilize or will not come, nobody can predict God. Rainfall is from God, so nobody can actually predict when it will start raining or when the rain will stabilize. So if a farmer has prepared his land for farming since January, and now he has one or two rains, and he said he's still waiting for more rain, and that farmer may not be doing himself any good.
What we normally will advise the farmers is to use this period to begin land preparation, clearing the farm and avoid bush burning. This is a time for the preparation of the land for whatever planting activities they will be involved in.
They, however, warned farmers to be selective of the crops to plant so as to prevent loss.
Candid opinion that farmers who have prepared their land, rather than allowing weeds to take over their field, they should go ahead and plant. There are so many crops you can plant at this time. Vegetables are there. Vegetables for 3 weeks they are already on the table. Cassava, maize, and so on.
At best, for a farmer now, if you are going to plant short season crops like melon, cucumber, watermelon too, and these are things that will normally not take too much moisture, so we can go into those ones for now.
Dr. Oluleye Ayodeji from the Department of Meteorology, Federal University of Technology, Akure, noted the advantages and disadvantages of the current weather on planting, adding that rain pattern must be strictly followed.
There is a change in temperature due to the climate change, and this will affect a lot of things, because by the time the temperature is changing, the rainfall pattern will also change. If the rainfall pattern is changing, then the food production, our food production still depends on the amount of rainfall that we receive. It means that if our rainfall is reduced, then the period of planting will also reduce, meaning that we have less food production.
Rain, they say, has to be moderate in order to have a good harvest and to sustain the blessings of rain in food production. Deliberate efforts must be taken to ensure farmers are guided on ways to maneuver during this particular season. Joy Pius, Osrc News.
We also return to the story on the World Hearing Day, and early presentation of medical cases has been described as the most effective way to manage and cure diseases. Medical experts give the advice at this year's World Hearing Day, organized by the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo, in collaboration with the Vintage Hearing Foundation and Rotary International Organization at the Unimed Teaching Hospital in Ondo. Osrc's Omorion Lahungweji reports that 100 hearing aids were also donated to patients during the program.
Research shows that by 2050, about 2.5 billion people will be suffering hair loss globally if not addressed, as about 500 million people are having this challenge, with over 8.5 million people affected in Nigeria. This and many more factors made Vintage Hearing Foundation, in collaboration with Rotary International Organization and Unimed, to embark on screening and sensitization on the causes, care, and prevention of hearing loss. Vice Chancellor of Unimed, Professor Adeshegun Fatusi, represented by Deputy Vice Chancellor of Administration and Clinical Services, Professor Adolphus Lotto, described the 5 organs which hearing is included as the most important aspect of living, which should not be handled with levity.
Research has shown that poverty Lack of awareness and cultural practices and beliefs are the major problems contributing to poor healthcare system in the country.
Head of Department, Audiology, Unimed, Professor Dele Owolawi, frowned against late visits to the hospital.
This long delay poses a great challenge to professionals in the field of hearing healthcare and results in social, emotional, and economic drain for the parents and society at large.
Dr. Oge Akpalaba, who spoke on World Hearing Day and ear hygiene, insisted that the ear is self-cleansing and anything contrary might attract great consequences.
The World Health Organization wants all of us to know that we should leave our ears alone. Don't put any sharp object or pointed object into your ears.
Founder of Vintage Hearing Foundation, Motunde Balogun, declared that 100 hearing aids will be given out to victims, while representative of Rotary International District 9105, Rotimi Meyeni, maintained that Rotary will continue to partner Vintage and other relevant organizations to bring succor to vulnerables.
Each of the hearing aids we're giving out today costs 500,000. That is not enough. You have to do tests. You have to do fixing. You have to do impression, and then they give you mood.
Dean of Faculty of Medical Rehabilitation, Unimed, Professor Matthew Olaugun, said the public must recognize the day to address challenges associated with hearing loss.
Promoting ear care and hearing care. And thirdly, calling for action to address hearing loss and related issues.
People were also screened for any hearing impairments. Omoriola Hungwiji, Osrc News.
Moving to the foreign scene, the death toll from Tuesday's train crash in Greece has increased to 57. A government minister said austerity during Greece's economic crisis in the early 2000s contributed to a lack of investment in the railway system. Rail workers held a one-day strike yesterday following the disaster, blaming it on government neglect. And now to end the news at 7, another look at the major stories. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has flagged up the disbursement of the 2021-2022 checks for students in tertiary institutions, insisting that his government will raise the bar of education in the state. Reprieve has finally come the way of Nigerians over the Naira redesign imbroglio, as the Supreme Court has ordered the use of old Naira notes till the end of this year. Consequent upon the outcome of the just concluded presidential election, the candidates of the PDP and the Labour Party have been granted leave by the Court of Appeal to inspect electoral materials used during the election. And finally, we brought you a report that the Greece train crash, which has claimed 57 lives, has brought to question the safety of the country's train services. That's it on the news at 7. Thank you for being a part of it. Good evening.